initiated by tissue damage. The tissue damage, factor 12 activates factor 11 activates factor 9 activates factor 10 activates thrombin activates fibrin. You need a factor 8 with factor 9 for it to be functional. You need a factor 5 with factor 10 to be active. And then you need a factor, and then there's another pathway from tissue damage, tissue factor, in fact, that will activate 7 to 10, and then 10 goes down to 2 goes down to 1. So before we continue on, I need to make sure that you understand that all of these proteins are made in the liver, and they're always circulating around. And some of them require special means. So let me just highlight some of them, which is what I did on the last video, but I decided not to. And it's factor 9, 10, 2, and 7. They need calcium. And there's another factor over here somewhere that I need to talk about later on, but that's a regulation step. I want to talk about this first. So 9, 10, 2, and 7, and something else, they all require I don't want to say all of them, so it's like 9, 7, 10, and 2 require calcium. And calcium is required for the proper functioning of the enzyme. But most proteins, I want to just draw a little protein. In order to have calcium be bound onto this protein, you really need negative charges. And there aren't many ways in which you can get a sufficient negative charge in order for it to bind sufficient calcium for it to function. So these proteins require more negative charges. So let me talk about, let's start all the way from the beginning of when these things, 9, 10, 2, and 7, how they ended up getting extra negative charges when they were in the liver way back then when the ribosome was still synthesizing them. So in this ribosome, there's like there's an amino group, and on this little string of DNA, you have, this RNA, this is a protein. So in this protein, you have a glutamate residue. And glutamate, as we all know, has a carboxyl group. So I'm just going to get rid of that glutamate here. I'm just going to draw a little carboxyl group over here. One negative charge is not enough. So what we ended up doing is utilizing this enzyme. I can never copy with this. Yeah, there we go. Copy, paste. And we added another carboxyl group on it. And in order to do this, we need vitamin K. And this enzyme, which is not, I don't think it's that important. So this enzyme is called vitamin K dependent carboxylase. That makes sense because vitamin K, you need vitamin K to carboxylate this protein. After the vitamin K is used, though, it becomes a vitamin K epoxide. And if you guys remember from organic chemistry, like epoxide is like a closed ring like that. You don't really need to know that. You just need to know that vitamin K, it's some sort of vitamin K epoxide, and it's pretty much useless as this state. It's pretty much spent. And what your goal is you want to regenerate this so that it can become vitamin K again. So in this case, the enzyme that you have to know is going to be vitamin K, epoxide, reductase. This is a really important enzyme because let's say you have, first thing is like, let's think about what happens if you don't have enough vitamin K. If you don't have enough vitamin K, you don't have factor 2, 10, 9, and 7. And you don't have 2, 9, 10, and 7, you can't get to fibrin. So if anyone with a vitamin K deficiency is going to have some sort of Clotting disorder. Now, if you don't have this vitamin K dependent carboxylase, then you wouldn't have double carboxylic acid, and you don't have double carboxylic acid. It can't bind its calcium, which comes from your platelets, by the way, to make this protein active. So this enzyme is very important because this is where warfarin will act on. Warfarin is a vitamin K analog which looks like, so an analog is something that looks like vitamin K. So if you have a vitamin K epoxide over here and it typically has an active site, this warfarin is going to block your real vitamin K. So it's a competitive inhibitor. And if you don't have this vitamin K that is recycled, then you can't make 9, 10, 2, and 7 correctly. And then if you can't make them correctly, you can't clot either. So it's very important that warfarin affects your clotting cascade because it is able to inhibit this very specific enzyme to prevent your goal, which is fibrin. So let's talk about the regulation. Let's draw this one more time. 12, 11, 9, 10, 2, 1, 8, 5, 7. It turns out that thrombin is a regulator of itself. Thrombin will activate this, actually activate should be green, activates this protein called thrombomodulin. And thrombomodulin will activate protein C. Protein C, like factor 9 and 8 and 10 and 5, require something else to be functional. Just make sure that this is right. And that factor is going to be protein S. So protein C and protein S must be together in order for them to be active. And then when they are active, they inhibit the other helper molecules. So they're going to inhibit factor 8 and they're going to inhibit factor 5. And then I'm going to stop here right now because my computer is going crazy again. So see you in your next video.